You ever had someone so obsessed with control, they start policing things that aren't even theirs? Oh, trust me, I know exactly what that looks like because for 6 years my life was peaceful, predictable, downright pleasant until Karen moved in 3 houses down and turned our block into her personal kingdom. She's the type who'd probably measure your grass with a ruler if she thought she could catch you slacking. Yeah, that happened. In fact, Karen taught me more about county easements and property lines than I ever wanted to learn. All because she decided my shed was a threat to the sanctity of her view. Never mind that it wasn't even on my property. Now, before I get carried away, let me back up a sec. Drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Seriously, I want to know if anyone else is fighting HOA drama at this hour. So like I said, I've been in this neighborhood 6 years. Grills smoking every weekend, bikes rattling down the street. The kind of place you think is safe from all the craziness of the world. That is, until Karen bought the blue house down the way. Everybody's got a Karen in their life. But this one, she didn't just enforce the rules, she invented new ones. Her lawn looked like something out of a magazine. Her terrier wore sweaters that matched her own, and you'd swear she practiced her clipboard walk in the mirror. Head high, lips tight, queen of the HOA parade. My first taste of her reign came with a letter. Notice of violation. It said in big, bold font. Unauthorized structure visible from public view. Please remove or relocate your shed within 10 days. I actually laughed out loud when I read it, walked outside, looked at my shed, brand new, freshly painted, tucked behind a fence where you could barely see it. Here's the kicker. The shed wasn't even on HOA property. It was sitting in a county easement behind my lot, a weird little strip of land nobody in the neighborhood really owned, but it sure wasn't under the HOA's thumb. I figured, hey, maybe it's a mix-up. I call the HOA office, explain it politely. The manager, not missing a beat, says, "Oh, that letter came from Karen Miller. She's been adamant it's a violation." Of course it did. So that evening, trying to be neighborly, I walked over to Karen's place. She's out in the yard, sunglasses glinting, dog at her heels. I said, "Hey, Karen, I think there's some confusion about the shed. It's not even on HOA land." She lowers her sunglasses like a movie villain and says, "Oh, I measured it myself. If I can see it from my backyard, it falls under HOA jurisdiction. Visible, huh?" That was her whole angle. "Karen," I said, "visibility doesn't equal ownership. That strip isn't HOA property." But she didn't budge. "I chair the Community Standards Committee," she told me, voice full of importance. "If you don't comply, you'll be fined." Then she spun on her heel and strutted off like she'd just won a medal. 3 days later, sure enough, another letter. This one said I owed $250 for noncompliance. Now, I'm not a hothead, but this got my blood boiling. Out came my official county survey, the big one with all the stamps and legal language. I highlighted exactly where my property stopped. The shed was outside my line, sitting square in the county buffer. I scanned the whole thing, wrote up the most professional, calm email of my life, attached the survey, and said, per the attached county record, the structure lies beyond HOA jurisdiction. Please confirm removal of this violation notice. Silence. 2 days later, Karen herself comes up my driveway, clipboard in hand, lips pursed like she just sucked on a lemon. "You can send all the fake maps you want," she says, "but unless I see proof, that shed has to go." I just grinned. "You want proof? You got it." Next morning, I hired a licensed land surveyor. Cost me $300, and honestly, it was the best money I spent that year. This guy came out with all his fancy GPS equipment, measured every inch, and planted brand new, shiny orange stakes in the backyard. "Your shed's not on HOA land," he said. "It's 6 feet outside your property line. HOA can't touch it." I almost hugged the guy. Instead, I set up a lawn chair, poured a fresh cup of coffee, and waited. Sure enough, about 3 o'clock, Karen comes rolling up in her golf cart, her terrier riding shotgun. She squinted at the new survey stakes and sniffed. "Those don't look official." "Can I verify?" I said. "Want the number for my surveyor?" She just glared and said, "I'll bring this up at the next HOA meeting. You'll regret ignoring our authority." HOA meetings were usually so boring you could hear the clock ticking, but this one felt like a reality TV courtroom showdown. Karen stood up, waving a manila folder like she was about to send me to the gallows. This homeowner, she announced, has built an illegal structure visible from multiple properties. It must be removed. The HOA president, Mr. Lewis, gray-haired, tired, probably regretting volunteering, turned to me and asked if I'd like to respond. I stood, handed out copies of the survey, and said, "The shed's not on HOA land. It's in a county easement." I checked with my surveyor in the county office. Karen almost choked on her coffee. That easement is behind our HOA boundary, which means it's under our visual standards. And then, twist, the HOA's lawyer, who'd been sitting there for another agenda item, suddenly pipes up, "Actually, ma'am, HOA jurisdiction ends at the property line. The homeowner is correct." Dead silence. I swear you could hear the fluorescent lights buzzing. Karen's face turned the color of a stop sign. "Then we'll amend the bylaws to include easement visibility," she barked. The attorney didn't even flinch. You can't apply new bylaws retroactively. And that, my friends, is when Karen absolutely lost it. She ranted about community harmony, accused me of defiance, claimed I was destroying neighborhood morale. Mr. Lewis just rubbed his temples and sighed. "Karen, please sit down." The board voted to drop the violation, unanimously. Well, except for one angry hand in the air. You'd think that'd be the end, right? Not even close. 2 days later, a new violation notice, this time for unapproved lawn ornaments visible from the street. My kid's garden gnome, apparently, was a threat to the visual harmony of the neighborhood. Then it was trash bins not stored promptly after collection. Driveway needs pressure washing. Every couple days, like clockwork, a new, petty complaint would land in my mailbox. That's when I started keeping records. Every letter, every comment in the HOA meeting, every weird run-in with Karen. I compiled it all into a neat PDF and labeled it in big, bold letters, "Pattern of Harassment, HOA Board Member Misconduct." Sent it straight to the county's HOA Oversight Office, the department that, I kid you not, actually exists to handle overreaching board members. And as if fate wanted to give me a little nudge, that same week a local reporter ran a story about HOA overreach. I sent her my case, half expecting nothing. Next morning, she calls. "Mind if we do an interview?" Not at all. 2 weeks later, there I am, standing next to my stubborn little shed, talking about HOA abuse on local TV. The camera zoomed right in on those bright orange survey stakes. County issued, impossible to argue with. And, of course, the kicker, the reporter signed off saying, "The HOA board declined to comment," though one member identified only as Karen was seen leaving the meeting visibly upset. I don't know what Karen's phone looked like that night, but I heard the whispers. Did you see the news? She really messed with the wrong neighbor. Even Mr. Lewis showed up at my door and, in a hush-hush tone, said, "Between you and me, she's been asked to step down from the committee." A few weeks later, a letter arrived in my mailbox. Not a violation, but an apology. "Dear homeowner, we regret any confusion regarding the shed location. We appreciate your cooperation and understanding." No signature from Karen, just HOA management. Around the block, folks were saying she'd been relieved of her duties for personal reasons. Translation? She got the boot. And the cherry on top, about a month later, the county sent a letter to every HOA in the region, reminding them about jurisdiction limits and homeowner rights. Guess who inspired that little memo? Yep, yours truly. These days, my shed's still standing, looking better than ever. I even hung up a cheeky wooden sign that says, "Karen's property line ends here." Neighbors get a kick out of it. Even in new HOA, folks call it the best, most peaceful protest they've ever seen. As for Karen, she still walks her dog past my yard, but you'd think she's hoping the shed won't leap out and bite her. She hustles right by, eyes front. Sometimes I catch her eye and give her a big, friendly wave. "Don't worry, Karen. Still not on your property." She just huffs and keeps going. You know, in this neighborhood, the only thing stronger than HOA rules is the truth, and maybe a stubborn homeowner who's just had enough. So, let me throw it to you. Do HOAs have too much power, or do they just attract the wrong kind of folks? What's the wildest run-in you've ever had with a neighbor or a local board? Drop your story below. And if you're stuck dealing with your own Karen, keep your paperwork, trust the map, not the drama. Sometimes, the best revenge is just standing your ground with a smile.